Hello, friends. We now invite you to join us for the Animation Academy. Please welcome your sketch artist, Lon Smart.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the EPCOT International Festival of the Arts. I hope you're all getting nice and inspired with all the art you're seeing out there. How many artists do we have here? Practicing artists, to someday be artists, present artists? Lots and lots. Very cool. Well, I'm glad to see you here. So anyways, my name is Lon Smart. I am an artist here at Disney. I've been with Disney about 30 years. And I started working at Walt Disney Feature Animation on films like The Lion King, films like Pocahontas, Hunchback, Mulan. Anybody see these movies? Oh, cool. Okay, if you also all the way up through Brother Bear, Lilo and Stitch, Princess and the Frog. And now I work for a division called Live Entertainment and Imagineering, where we design for the parks. We do lots of fun projects, like special events. I do a lot of character art for the parks as well. As a matter of fact, the 50 golden statues, I worked on those, and that was a lot of fun to work on that project. Oh, thanks. And I saw all the merchandise they made of it, and I don't get any of it. So. Well, that's fine, but I get to be here with you, which is really cool. So, we are going to draw a character. Today, we're actually going to do two. We're going to do a session here at 12:30, which is now, and then of course 1:30, we're going to do Goofy and Max. So, if you want to come back, you can have a pair. So we're going to do Goofy right now. Who's a fan of Goofy? Who likes Goofy? Come on, you gotta love Goofy, right? Whoops, oh, hold a second. One moment, I gotta get a pencil. Get it out of the way. Please hold. Now you've all got pencils too, and unfortunately you don't have an eraser. Well, neither do I. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw really lightly. We're going to sketch loose, and then we're going to press our pencils a little bit harder to create that final line just after that. So let's see, there's the paper. Now what we do when we draw characters, we use something called a model sheet. Now these model sheets are something we create for every one of the characters. And it really helps us to learn the character, how they're put together, and the more you draw the character, the better you're going to get. That's basically true with art in general. The more you draw, the better you get. So if you're not happy with your abilities right now, don't worry, it will get better and better. But the key to that is to study. Study. Let's see, so I want to get this page on the screen because I'm going to look at it, and I want you to look at it. How many people are familiar with model sheets? Just the use of them. Now what I do is I'll actually grab one of the model sheets from the library, or I'll actually go in and create ones that I can find online. Or just grab some images from different films, like that. I'm gonna put that right next to it, because I want you to look at what I'm looking at. We're not gonna learn how to draw Goofy per se, but we are gonna learn how to draw. So you can draw any character you want. I'm going to show you the process on how we do that. So the first thing we do, you can see everything up there? Good, okay. So the first thing we're going to do is start out with some simple shapes. We're going to look at the character and watch what I do first, and then you do it. So just kind of like, just look and learn. We're just going to draw his head. And I'm going to start out with a simple circle shape right around here. Now look at where I'm drawing the circle here. It's actually not right on the top or the bottom. It's kind of like somewhere around the middle here. So real lightly, go ahead and just sketch in that circle. And that's going to be this part of his head up here, right up there. And we do a lot of simple shapes. We're going to block in the big shapes, and then we're going to start working in the details, like you're working with clay. Let's say you're modeling, and then you get the little details in after that. So the next thing with Goofy I'm noticing here, of course, is his giant muzzle. And if you really examine it, it's like a large triangle. So what we're going to do is I'm going to line up where the bottom of his eyes will be. Now his eyes are really large, so they're going to be here. I'm going to actually draw a horizontal line, not in the center of the circle, but towards the bottom here. Just around there. That's going to let me know, it's going to be like an anchor point to where I want his eyes to finish. And then I'm going to draw in, now watch the shape that I draw here. It's like kind of a curved line. I'm going to go up, down, and around. And not in the back of the head, but somewhere around the middle down here. I'm just going to draw this shape. It almost looks like a foot almost. But check out this, study the shape that I just drew. And he's going to be looking off to the side. He's not looking right at us. I kind of like drawing the characters a little bit off to the corner, like they're looking over there, looking over there. You can really see the dimension of the character that way. Well, and look how large it is compared to the circle that I drew. You can maybe put, I'll do this with my fingers. I'll go ahead and just kind of place it in. That's about the same height as the circle, a little bit wider when you go horizontally. And then I'm going to draw in his nose, and his nose kind of looks like a lima bean. So we're going to just sketch in a little bit of a circle right there, and we can fine tune that shape as we start cleaning the character up later. But again, remember, draw really lightly right now. Another thing I can do is I'm actually going to draw in some of his neck, because I would like to draw in the collar, kind of like you're doing an artistic bust of a character. So I'm going to draw in a little line right here, just coming behind his chin, and I'm going to end it right underneath his chin, right around here. So you can just see a little bit of it peeking out from behind his chin. All right, now once we get those shapes down, we're already kind of blocking it out. I'm going to start out with his eyes. I always start out with the eyes and the nose because it kind of shows the direction of the head. I'm going to draw a vertical line coming right down the middle here. Is my head in the way? Okay, good. I want you to see the bald spots back there. So we're going to go ahead and draw a line that's going to basically be the center of his head where he's facing it. And if you look, when his head is turned 3/4, it almost covers half of that ball that we drew in that circle. So we're going to do that. Right around the middle of it here, I'm going to draw in a large oval shape that's going to go just above the top of that first circle, because his eyes are very expressive, and he is a cartoon, so don't expect him to make a lot of sense. These characters, when they're in their cartoon universe, get really bizarre. Well, for example, Mickey Mouse. If you ever notice when Mickey Mouse is facing you, his ears are right here at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. But when his head turns, you see the side. They just kind of slide around his head. It's impossible, but no one seems to question it. They're just kind of like, sure, it's a Mickey thing. Let's see what else. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually sketch in his pupils. And do you want him looking at us, or do you want him looking off to the side? I like it when the characters engage with us, the viewer. So we're going to have that. We're going to draw another couple of ovals really lightly right here and right here. And don't worry about details right now. We're just finding the character. If you notice, the more that we do kind of sketch in the character like this, the more he starts to become recognizable. And that makes it a little easier when you're cleaning him up. Okay, now what we're going to do is a smile. I like to start out the shape. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do another little line. It's going to start up behind his eye. If you notice, his cheeks go really high on some of these images. So I'm going to start my line right around here. And I'm going to sketch it down, and it's just going to curve right towards the front. Right like that. It almost looks like Pluto right now, doesn't it? Yeah, they do have some similarities. And actually, I can show you the differences between Goofy and Pluto. So again, remember this line. This is actually a really important line. It's going to go right down there, because down here is his jaw. And we can actually form that out a bit more. And finally, his cheek. We're going to draw the rest of the cheek. It's going to be a curved line that goes up behind his eye. Right like that. All right, see, that line actually is about as high as his pupil would be. Go ahead and sketch that in. And of course, when you smile, your smile goes up into your cheek, and your cheek kind of folds over the corner of your mouth. So we're going to do that too. We're going to draw that line in right here. I'm actually going to draw that a little bit darker, because that's a bit of a detail. Right there. We're going to get that detail out of the way now. Everyone feeling good? Happy where this is going? Okay. All right, now I want to draw in his eyebrows. I like the eyebrows. Again, they're going to go up a lot higher. Very expressive eyebrows. And way up above his forehead. Normal dogs don't have eyebrows like this, but he's far from normal. Okay, and that's basically going to be the same shape as the top of his eye, only a lot higher. So they're going to go parallel. They're going to be a little bit thinner towards the inside of the eye, right towards the end here. But when they hit the high point, it's actually the longest distance. Right there, right there. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to bring out his, I'm going to mess with the muzzle a bit more. And his nose has got bumps. It folds backwards, which is going to create wrinkles in his actual skin. So we're going to, right here, where that nose would be, I'm going to draw in a little bit more of that muzzle detail, right towards the end of the nose. And then I'm going to draw in 2 lines. The first one I'm going to do is actually going to be right under the eyes, right there. We're just going to like overlap both of those pupils, and then one more line right in the middle. And it's going to roll, kind of like rolling mountains, rolling hills. Happy trees, happy trees. And now I'm going to actually go ahead and take care of the rest of that nose right now. And again, as I mentioned before, it's a lima bean, so it's actually going to bend in both directions. It's going to be a little thinner towards the bottom, grow out like a balloon towards the top, and then back in. So this line here is actually curving in again and in again. It's a neat little design. It's really one of those features that makes Goofy and Pluto, themselves. Those little details can matter quite a bit. All right, now what we're gonna do is his ears. And watch what I do first, and then you do it. We're gonna draw the ears way up here and forward, and no, don't do that. Don't do that. We're gonna forget that I did that. We're gonna forget that I did that. And the ears are actually gonna flop down. That's one of those differences between Goofy and Pluto. We're gonna drop those ears hanging right by his side. They just dangle away. One over there, and you can draw the other one also back here. There's so many options. We'll go ahead and just draw them both coming off the back. And the other one is going to, now you gotta think 3-dimensionally. Where would that be if it were to connect into the head? You just see a little bit of a hint of it popping out there, but it could also just get away with one. I like to see where the other one is. All right, now for another distinguishing shape that makes Goofy Goofy. He's got these really big lips that come off the front. So see what I'm doing? I'm actually going to draw in a bit of a cleft right here and draw in this big lip that bounces out over his bottom lip and even start to tighten up some of that line for the rest of his smile. That's definitely a Goofy characteristic. What else makes Goofy Goofy? Those teeth. Just like Dale from Chip and Dale. He's got 2 buck teeth that just kind of hang down underneath his lip. And they're like a square that's tucked up into his lip. And they've got a little bit of depth to it, so you might even want to draw on a second line just inside to show where the side of the tooth is to where the front of the tooth is. And you can do that on both sides here. And again, this is just the process of studying and drawing. It doesn't matter what pose the character's in over here on that model sheet, you're coming up with your own creation. And being able to just learn the character, and the more you draw the character, the better you're gonna get at it. You can do this with your dog, you can do this with your sister, you can just draw your character all you want and then get better and better at it. Now we're gonna go ahead and start working back on the top of the head here. I'm just gonna draw the back of his head. That actually will go in right around the top of the eye and back down and tuck into the back of his cheek. Now if you notice, that cheek is really large and it actually does come out pretty far from his head itself. Now if we weren't going to draw in his head, he actually would have a bump back here. We call that an intelligence bump. I guess that's where his brains are kept. But what we're going to do actually is we're going to draw in his hat. And his hat, he's a dog, so his hat actually looks a little bit like a bone. So we're going to do that. I'm going to draw in the bottom part of his hat first, which is a straight line with a little bit of a curve coming down the sides. Right on the top of his head there. Let's take it step by step. And his hat does stay stuck to his head, probably from his intelligence bump, but it also leans back. And that's when we're going to draw the top of a bone. Right there. Take that bone shape. Now watch what I do. And it's going to even overlap a little bit in the front. These little lines help. When you put one line in front of another line, that means that this shape is in front of that shape. So sometimes you get confused. It's like, which line should I draw in first? If whatever shape is in front is going to be what the dominant line between the two will be. And he has a bit of a band that goes across his head, so we're going to draw in another line right there. All right, he's got his lip here. You can see that bottom lip kind of tucks in behind his tooth. So watch what I do here. I'm just going to draw a little line just to indicate that bottom lip. And then his chin. Now I drew in a large shape for the chin. That was just to find where that chin's going to go. It's actually not going to be this wide. I'm actually going to start the chin in a little bit more, and that's when I'm going to draw my darker line. That cheek is going to stretch out and go a little bit further down his nose. And remember, you're going to have that chin go in front of his... Actually, no, the cheek will go in front of the chin. We're going to do that. That's right, the cheek's up here, chin here. The cheek is in front of the chin. So that line dominant is going to stay in the front. And then come down. Just like that. And since the basics of the character is done, we can start putting in some of that final line. Now what I like to do is I like to really paint in my lines. And I use a thick and thin line. The line should be thinner towards the end of the line and gets thicker towards the beginning. Another reason I like to use thick and thin lines is because it shows weight. So a line that's on the bottom of a shape would feel heavier if you draw in a thicker line. And it really, there's something very appealing about a really nice thick and thin line shape. And I kind of treat it like a paintbrush. Now if you're super skilled at inking, then you can just press a little bit harder on your pencil. There's so many ways to draw. I work with so many talented artists, and everyone draws their own way, and the final product always comes out fantastic. And it's great to have diversity in your artwork. The more varieties of artists that you have working with you, the more you learn from them, and I do that every single day. That's why I love working here. To learn. You never stop learning, by the way. If you're an artist and you're always kind of frustrated that you're not where you want to be, don't worry, you'll never will be where you want to be. You're always going to be learning every single day, so don't let it get you down. And I've drawn Mickey Mouse thousands of times. Every single time I draw Mickey, I'm finding an image from the Mickey Mouse Club, some old cartoons. Heck, I'll even go into the parks and I'll see a t-shirt that I think is really well done. I'll take a snapshot of it in the gift shop and just put it in my little folder for references. It's amazing where you can find art and inspiration. Like at places like EPCOT's International Festival of the Arts. Another one of my favorite places to find references is right on Disney Plus. I'll find the movie. Every single Disney movie you've ever wanted is right there with thousands of drawings in every one. What a library of references. Let's see. Oh, one more detail he's got, which is fun. Where his ear connects into his head, he's got a little bit of a flap, which is right like this. It's a little bizarre. I'm not exactly sure why it's there, but it's there, and it kind of keeps that ear anchored so it doesn't fall off, maybe. And a little bit that thicker line. Remember that thick and thin line right towards the bottom. And let's see, the back of his neck. I can't forget about that. I'm going to draw that down here. And while I'm down here, I'm going to draw in his collar too. His collar wraps around his neck, and we like to draw these big cuffs around everything, big pants or sleeves or whatever. These giant cuffs of the edge that go in and tuck in like this. And that's going to be his turtleneck sweater. And again, this is just a really quick sketch. To draw some characters perfectly, like Tiana in her wedding dress, could take up to 2 hours to do. It's a lot of detail going on in there. So don't get frustrated if you're not a fast artist. I am not a fast artist. I try to be careful, but it's quality over quantity a lot of times. However, with that, don't be a perfectionist either, because you'll never be done. I kind of keep myself in the mentality of when I'm 90% happy with it, I'm done. I will take what I've learned and move it to the next drawing. Other than that, you're going to be there forever and you'll end up getting so frustrated you'll hate yourself and you'll hate the art. So when you're 90% done with it, happy with it, you're the only one who's going to see any flaws at that point. And let's see, I'm going to darken up here just a bit more. Darken that up, darken that up. Now you also have the luxury of turning your page around. I can do that sometimes, but when we're working at animation tables, we actually have a disc that spins, and that's when you can really have some fun using the natural flow of your wrist to create some of those curved lines. And it makes it a lot easier. Look at that. Happy hat, happy hat. Now what you want to do is take the corner of your pencil, we're drawing with the tip, now we're going to turn it to its side, and we're going to just lightly shade in his head, eyebrows, ears. Check our watch, make sure I'm not running late. Other ear and the nose, and his eyes. And last but not least, sign your artwork right down here. Oh, and color in his neck too. You'll always find something that you didn't do after you sent it off in an email. And then you have to call it back in. Tricks of the trade. And there you go. And that's how you draw Goofy. I want to see what you've done. Go ahead and hold your drawings up above your head. Oh my gosh. Okay, wow, you're all really good. This is fantastic. Now, did you feel like you've learned something from the process? Now, this is just stuff that I've picked up along the way. You're going to pick up stuff along the way on your artistic journey, and be sure and pass those forward to other people who are trying to learn art, because this is great. People are always going to be asking you for hints. Oh wow, fantastic. Good stuff. So, if you have, I got like a couple more minutes. Do you have any questions about art and working for Disney or something like that? I'd be happy to answer them if you want. Anybody got a question? Any artists out there want some hints? Or did I go to art school? Yeah, I went to the Ringling School of Art and Design in Sarasota, Florida, where I studied illustration. But I actually learned more on the job at animation and with Imagineering and live entertainment than ever at college. I mean, I learned a lot at college, but when you're on the job, you're really figuring stuff out as you go. So, but I do recommend the more you draw, the better you're going to get. Whether you're just doing it online, you're watching YouTube tutorials, you've got another friend who's an artist or a college professor. So many ways to continue to improve your skills. That way you kind of want to draw what you have in your mind and you want to see it in front of you. Anyone else? Yes? What mediums do I use to color in? Well, these days I use Photoshop. Photoshop's really popular. I use Fresco, but when I color it in traditionally, I like to use either color pencil or watercolor. Sometimes if I want to get super fancy, I use acrylic paint. But if I'm just doing like a flat color, it'll be like a watercolor, something where you can really get the transparency. And I don't want to lose necessarily the drawing underneath it. When you work with watercolor, you can still see that drawing that you started with. So that's one of my favorites for sure. Or a really loose acrylic. There's another question I heard? My favorite film that I worked on, probably Lilo and Stitch. I love that film so much. The art, the Hawaiian style and the music and the characters were so fun. And Chris Sanders, who directed the film, was so much of a pleasure to work with, and learning off of his mastermanship of being able to tell a story. And it was just such a different story too, because we just came off our Hercules and Pocahontas and all these traditional time period films, and then Lilo and Stitch, aliens in Hawaii. Wow, where'd this come from? Okay, I'm on board. Let's give it a shot, see what happens. What could go horribly wrong? So, what tablet do I use? I use a Wacom Cintiq when I'm at the office, but I use my iPad when I'm at Starbucks. You know, I'll just sit and sketch at Starbucks. Is everything perfectly touched up, or will we ever see something later on that we wish we would have changed? Oh no, always me. No, I will change. I watch films constantly and I'm like, oh, I wish I would have done that differently. But again, that's something that I think only, like I mentioned, only I will notice. But I'll watch something and I'm not going to mention any scenes. But you just have to figure it out for yourself. But anyways, so, okay, one more question. Go ahead.
How many animators will work on one film?
How many animators work on one film? I'd say about close to 100. But that's animators and background artists and layout artists and storyboard artists and you name it. I mean, it's quite a few. Just look at the end of a credit list. You know, this goes on forever. So anyways, please enjoy the rest of your day here at EPCOT's International Festival of the Arts. Get inspired, go home and draw, and I'll see you soon.
Friends, thank you for joining us for this presentation of the Animation Academy. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day here at the EPCOT International Festival of the Arts.